All right, guys. I'm Melissa Davis, and I read the 2016 K through 12 Important Developments this week. And one of the things I focused on was online learning. And obviously, we're all kind of familiar with online learning because we're all doing it. Then, for some of us, that's kind of the only way we can do these programs. I know if it were me, if I had to actually go somewhere, it wouldn't be possible with my family and full-time jobs. So it's kind of the only way I've been able to get this master's degree. The online learning is the 1 year or less part of the report. And the benefit, of course, is that it can be done anytime, anywhere. You just need a device. And so for some schools that have a lot of weather issues, a lot of snow days, and that's not really a problem because they can still log on at home. And so a lot of schools are able to go that route because of that, especially with the bring your own device movement. A lot of people are going towards this kind of learning. And so a lot of kids are used to already using online in school with flipped classrooms and that kind of thing. So they're kind of bringing it in with the classroom already. You also have some kids who, because of other issues, they may need to go this route, like medical issues, or some kids that do sports like majorly full time and it's not really possible for them to go to a school. There's homeschooling that can benefit from it. Sometimes it can be used to supplement what's done in class. You can also use it for credit recovery, be able to do advanced coursework, kind of get ahead, be able to graduate maybe a little early if possible, just to give overall more flexibility. You have these hybrid schools where you have some face-to-face and some online. In fact, I have a friend who she teaches at a private school, and that's kind of the setup. They meet once or twice a week, and the rest of it is done online at home. Gave an example of in Arizona, they've found that a lot of their Latino students were having trouble with transportation. And so the online learning, that kind of took that stress out of it. They were able to do it from home. You can also have the test prep, sometimes the AP courses that get you towards college credit. Students are able to take their class online in order to do that. They did say in the article that it needed to be more than just lectures, just sitting and watching lectures, which I think we can all attest to. That's not something we want to sit and watch online. So the different coursework and, like I said, the supplementing that goes along with it. In Australia, they talked about how they watch the videos and do some online materials at home, and then when they go to class they actually have time for those deeper discussions that they wouldn't have normally because they've done all the stuff beforehand before they went to school. So it said this was 2016 and it said 1 year or less. So obviously we are there, and it's 2019 now. We have hit the mark with online learning. I think it is a big part of the learning we've got going on. The other thing I was going to mention quickly is the virtual reality. And one thing I liked about that is the fact that I've been able to use it before, and it's very cool. You take away the distractions and you're able to kind of see places that you normally wouldn't be able to go to. That said, time to adoption 2 to 3 years. I do think we have a long way to go still with that. Obviously, we're kind of 3 years later, and it's still not really a huge part of education yet, at least from what I've seen around me. So I think maybe that's still kind of upcoming, but that's kind of what I looked at.
Awesome. I'm Jennifer. I read the 2018 Higher Education Edition. And my article really focused on, since it was the newest, it was kind of cool to read that because we've been reading, from 15 all the way till now 18. So it's been cool just to see some of the things that, were popular 5 years ago or 3 years ago, whatever. And now, like, all these things that we're reading about are implemented, and we're seeing more and more of them in the classroom, which is really cool. So there were 6 advances of technology that I read in this part of my reading, which were analytical technologies, makerspaces, adaptive learning technologies, artificial intelligence, mixed realities, and robotics. A lot of these I related to last week in the article. So I'm not going to like recap all of those, but two things that I saw that were really cool were the analytics technologies. Talked about the fact that a quote I had from that part was, today, almost any interaction made over the internet or through the consumption of goods and services is being tracked, stored, and used in targeted ways. That was actually straight from the article. And so what I thought was interesting was, you know, you go to Amazon real quick, look something up, and then a couple hours later, you're on Facebook, and what do you start to see? You start to see those ads for what you looked up a couple hours ago. And so it was just making that connection where they're actually, the technology is getting so advanced with just like our personal laptops or our phones, that now the analytical side of what's going on, like there's so much going on behind, you know, us just doing a Google search. And so a lot of people, this could be a hot button issue because a lot of people think that's a security breach. And so it's like, you know, a lot of people get offended that like these securities should be put in place to protect people's privacy. So that's kind of one of those issues that it's like, as we get further and further along, these things are going to get more and more detailed and more specific. So we have to make sure that we're doing that appropriately and that the security is still like intact. So that was like something that was really, really interesting, because I know it kind of freaks me out when I'm like, oh my gosh, I just looked that up a couple hours ago and it's already, you know, I'm already getting emails or whatever it is. And then the other thing I was going to touch on really quick was the mixed reality. So that was just the connection between physical and virtual. And so like the thing that they referenced in the article I read was back in 2014, they did that holographic of Michael Jackson at the Billboard Awards, I think it was. And like just the technology that they used to do that holographic, and just like the fact that they can use things like that, you know, and that was in 2014. And here it is, you know, 5 years later, and just the way that they're making those connections. I know last week I talked a lot about in the science classroom, making that connection between, you know, biology and actually teaching kids different parts of their body and things like that. So those are just a couple things that I read about that I thought were really, really interesting. And it's just cool to see the connection between all these things in the classroom and what's going on outside of the classroom.
Great.
Yeah, sure.
I also read the, well, first of all, I'm Nancy, and I also read the 2018 Higher Education Report, and I focused on the robotics, which is an adoption that should be within the next 4 to 5 years, but we're already seeing it everywhere, in homes, at the stores, and as she stated, we're using these types of technology not in the classroom also. They weren't solely intended for the classroom use or education use, but it's been helpful. I remember one of you touched on this. We have robotics every day, such as in our homes, Alexa. We also even have self-driving cars. We've noticed like in different, so I think it was San Francisco that I've read somewhere else that they started the self-driving Ubers, and we're starting to see all of these robotics, even just self-checkouts at a lot of stores. Those are robotics used in the, just at the stores, grocery stores. Something that I thought that was pretty cool also is that it helps not just in the classroom, but outside, such as also surgeons have robotics with them with complicated surgery. I've seen even just different shows. You can see like the robotics are doing a lot of the work that the surgeons do. Also, another thing that I thought that was cool that I read is that in the Winter Olympics in South Korea last year, they designed robots that were help the facility maintain the facility cleaning and painting services. That's something that I didn't know, but I thought it was pretty cool. And they're also in Japan are trying to come up with these robotics that are going to be helping be caregivers in nursing homes. So it's kind of like, well, you know, is a robotic going to be able to do the same kind of job a human's going to be? And that's a fear that a lot of people have, that the report said that a lot of people fear that robotics are going to kind of take over the world, or they're going to companies are just going to want to get these robotics, and they're going to be losing their jobs. But it also explained that it's not about that. It's about us, the students, learning about technology so that we're able to get those type of jobs, to create those types of technologies. And also, for example, a lot of the universities are also having space or making universities more with hands-on learning, so that they can learn. For example, the University of Michigan, they said that by 2020, so that should be within the next year already, they're building a 140,000 square robotic facility that would include a fly zone for aerial vehicles, outdoor obstacle course for walking robots, a high bay garage for self-driving cars, so that students are able to get that hands-on learning that we keep seeing in a lot of these reports, that students need a lot of hands-on so that they can go into the real workforce. So yeah, that's pretty much what I pretty much gathered, and I think we'll be seeing a lot of more of this within these next couple of years within the classroom, but also just in the real world.
Great. And lastly, I'm Jose Bermudez, and I also read the 2016 K-12 edition of the Horizon Reports, and my focus was also on the development. I'm going to talk about three of them: the virtual reality, the artificial intelligence, the wearable technology, and how the combination of these three might get us to that learning environment that we also want for our students. So we all know that virtual reality is that enhancement of reality, and to provide realistic settings to our students, to get them access to those inaccessible places in a traditional learning. And so by doing that, we gather their attention and we focus that attention, and that guarantees greater knowledge retention, and that is the one of the major benefits of virtual reality. So if we combine that with the wearable technologies, which basically in this case we use them every day, but they focus a lot on the headsets for virtual reality, and how can we use them in the classroom. And we know that wearable devices are merely for measuring and recording data. And so that way we can gather all this information and use it with artificial intelligence to tailor their learning. That way we provide student-centered activities, and sometimes even real-time feedback, because this technology also comes with virtual tutors that give students personalized advice and real-time advice instead of waiting for the traditional method of feedback. So if we combine these three, in my view, these technologies can help enhance the learning experience for our students in our classrooms. And they said that it is expected to be implemented within the 4 to 5 years, but we can see that also is starting right now, and it's going to increase at a 46% growth per year. So hopefully soon is going to be a reality.
That's awesome. All right, guys.
All right.
Well, thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.